Delegate Luedkte.
I'd like to move a substitute motion. I'm trying to think through how to do this in a way that will, because I know there's different points of view on this, although I think we all share an interest in making sure kids with special needs get the support they need. So the motion would read as, the Commission recognizes that additional studies required by the Maryland General Assembly on the efficacy of special education services in the state will be finalized after the completion of the Commission's work. However, in order to ensure robust special education services are offered during implementation of the blueprint, the Commission recommends annual reporting beginning in FY20 on how additional special education funding provided by the blueprint is being used, the aggregate number of children in special education services by school, and additional special education services offered with blueprint funding. Further, if a school system is not spending blueprint special education funding in addition to current special education spending levels from state and local funds, the school system should explain why additional spending on special education is not necessary. So I'd move that as a substitute motion.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? Okay. Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate all the work that everybody on this commission who's been on it much longer than I have has done. But I think in my experience in the legislature, when we have these high-level education policy discussions and we look at many thousands of pieces of paper with tables and numbers on them, it's easy to lose sight of what ultimately should be driving the discussion. I taught in high needs middle schools in Montgomery County for 11 years, and a lot of my students stand out. And there's one in particular whose story I tell fairly often. Some of you have probably heard the story before, but it was in my third or fourth year of teaching. I was a social studies teacher. This was 6th grade. And he was one of these kids who acted out a lot in class. He liked to make the other kids laugh. And as a teacher, sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating when you're trying to get the kids to focus on other things. And in a classroom where I was regularly teaching more than 30 students per class in inclusion classes in a high need school in the most well-resourced jurisdiction in the state of Maryland, I didn't always have the time to devote to focus on him one-on-one that I probably should have. But one day I was sitting down the street in a Panera waiting for a meeting with a friend of mine, and the student all of a sudden walked up to the window next to me and started banging on it, going, "Mr. Luedkte, Mr. Luedkte." And I went, "Oh, God." Because, you know, it's always a little uncomfortable when you're running your students outside of work. And but he came in, and he sat down, and we started talking, and I heard for the first time his story. And he told me that he was being raised like I was by a single mother, and that she had moved the family to Maryland just the year before because his older brother was being recruited by gangs where they lived in the barrios in LA. And that he was worried because, and this is not atypical of kids in every county in the state, as a 6th grader, he was being recruited by Salvatrucha. And he didn't want to do it, but he didn't see a way to get around it. And, you know, I went back to work and tracked down one of the counselors at the school and talked to her about it. And she was extraordinary at her job and ended up getting him connected with a mentor who had actually been in and left a gang and who developed a one-on-one relationship and who kept him essentially out of the gang. And he went on to get into an arts program that got him more engaged in school. And he graduated high school and he's in college right now. And that's what a great school that has the resources it needs can do for a kid. But we have far too many schools in the state that don't have the resources to do that. And far too many kids who need interventions like that who aren't getting them. I've been to classrooms that are essentially converted broom closets. I've talked to hundreds of teachers who are so exhausted that they're ready to leave the profession they love. I've talked to teachers that will tell their children not to become teachers because of the way they're treated by society. And in the wealthiest state, in the wealthiest country, in the history of the world, that's morally unacceptable. So, you know, this plan that you all have done 3 years now of work on is not perfect in every respect. but it holds out the promise of helping thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Maryland kids get the education they deserve. And yeah, we need to figure out how to pay for it. That's not the job of this commission. That's up to us in the legislature, and it's up to the governor of the state of Maryland. And we're ready for that conversation. And yes, we need to make sure that school systems are held accountable. It's why we worked in the legislature with the governor to implement his plan to create an Office of Inspector General for Education. And we are open to that conversation continuing. But this is maybe the best education reform package that has been produced by any state in this country, in the history of this country. So I'm late to the party, but I'm going to be voting strongly in favor of this plan. And I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that the work you've done, in particular chairing this commission, has been extraordinary, and I very much appreciate you.
Thank you very much.